Well, hello everybody. It's Ronnie with Whip and Chain. We're finally going to get started on the tutorial for our temperature blanket. But there's so much to go over. So please bear with me. But these are the squares we will be making. Each square, there's going to be 2 squares per month. One's going to be the high temperature of the day. One's going to be the low temperature of the day. I do not recommend only 1 square per month because your blanket will be super small. It'll be almost like a lap blanket. So I do recommend it 2. Some people are actually starting to tell me they want to do 3. They want to do a high and a low and the average temperature of the day, which would be absolutely stunning. So, and then as we get a little further in the next tutorial or 2, I'm going to show you this beautiful joining stitch. It's a continuous as you go that you do, but this is the sample I started, and after I started it, the hook size that I chose was initially a 5mm hook, and it just didn't go well because it's small for 2 squares per month. So, but I am keeping this as a sample so you can see what we're doing. Each square, I am recommending 31 total rows, but you can make it any odd number you want. You can make it 33, 35, 37, 39, 41, and continuing on. But I chose 31 because 31 is the most days any month will have. And then I will need you to, the rest of the days is going to be what we call as a filler color. But this is, and it looks the same on both sides, but you're going to notice a difference because you have to weave in your ends. Spoiler alert, this is a project that will have a lot of end weaving in it. So my suggestion is after you do a square, just weave in the ends so you're not stuck with 24 or 36, how many ever squares you choose to do. Okay, so I did go up on my good one. I went up to a 7mm hook and I'm loving it. Now I only got January completed with this. As you can see, there's no border on this. This is the back side and here's the front. And then this one is the lows, and this one's the highs of the month of January. So this would be, I mark where I begin. So this would be January 1st, this is January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and so on, all the way down to 31. It is an almost very, very close to a C2C, but not quite. Very close. But so let's talk about some specifics that I really, really do recommend. First things first, you need a color chart. After you decide what area you're going to do and what year, whether it's this year or the year that you were born, or let me let my dog out. He wanted to come in with me and now he needs out. Hold on. I apologize if I didn't let him out. We were going to hear him whining the whole time. So anyway, so this is just cardboard from the back of a tablet. You don't need anything fancy. And what I did is I poked holes and I found, I'm doing Alaska Fairbanks for last year because we traveled there. So what I did is I went on Google and I found the highest temperature of 2022 for the whole year, and then I found the lowest temperature for the whole year. And then that's the range that I use. Now, if you're doing your temperature blanket for this year, you're going to have a little more fluctuation in your color chart, but that's okay. You can do that. So I picked all the colors at Hobby Lobby that I wanted, and actually my husband put them in the order that he thought would be great, and I appreciated his input on it because we went together, so him having input on it really worked out really nice. But I do not suggest huge gaps for the temperatures, or you won't have a lot of different colors varying in your blanket. But as you can see, I did 31 and colder, and I do have some negative 31 and colder. There's actually some days that are even colder than that. And then I just went down. And as you can see, some are 10 apart, some are 9 apart, some are only 5 apart. Just work it how you want to. There's no wrong in this. That's what's really nice about a temperature blanket. So you will need this because as you use your skeins of yarn, your covers on your yarn will eventually come off. And that being said, you're going to need it because like on the colors I marked what they were. This is called Buttercup. They'll eventually fall off, and if you don't have your chart, you're going to be struggling. Not saying you can't do it, but it just makes it harder on you. So that's the color chart. Before you start your blanket, I do highly recommend this, okay? And then what I did is I got a tablet, and these are one of the tablets that I use my cardboard for. And I wrote January of 2022. Now, on these, you can see I have stitch markers. Like this will tell me this particular block is for January 2022, and it has the low temperatures. This is the low temperature one. And it also tells me it's the front of my project. Something so simple. It really helps. And then what do you say? You say, what do you do when you run out of colors? Well, then if you run out of colors, you use all your different colors, you just tag on another color. And then you can write whatever month you're on. Let's just say June. June is orange, then yellow, and so forth. So you can bust through, and then you can do all your joining at the end, which is really nice. But stitch markers are really, really important, guys. Something to mark which color, which month, which temperature they are. And then since I chose to do only 31 rows, I marked on my book after 16, that's when I start decreasing to get my full square. And that's another thing you need to figure out. If you're going to do a square that's bigger, let's just say mine's 31, say you choose to do a 33, then I think yours would be 17 rows, and then you start decreasing. But you need to figure that out. Just take your time. There's no rushing on this. I can get a whole month of one temperature done just sitting and watching a sports show with John, or the Wednesday series that I'm enjoying, however. But what I do is on this, I write whatever temperatures, just say you're going to do the lows and the average. You mark them. And then you write all the temperatures down. That way you don't have to keep going back. And what I do is as I do each row, like when I'm starting it, I mark it off. These are double marked because I restarted because I didn't like the size of the squares. Like if you look at the size of this square versus the size of this square without the border, it's the bigger hook, it's a bigger square. Not by a lot, but enough that makes me very happy. So, and I'm the one that's doing the project, and I want to be happy with it. So that's my thing. And this also tells you when you start, this will be up in your upper left-hand corner of your blanket. This is the first and second, and you do it as you read down. Okay? So that's the blanket. But I'm not going to show you how to do the join yet. We will do that later. But remember, I did say, spoiler alert, that this project has a lot of ends in it that you need to be very well aware of. And you need to be able to be okay with having to put in ends. I do mine after each square is done, but if you choose to do it at the end, you're absolutely welcome to. There's nothing saying you cannot. So you will need scissors. You will need the yarn that you've chosen. I do recommend at least one skein because the dye lots do not matter on the temperature. And that's because they're going to be in different spots. If you choose to get two, that's really fine. But I do recommend you buy all the balls that you will need, which should be between 4 and 5 for all the joining. Because the joining yarn that I chose is this yarn. And this is an ivory. And just when I was standing in Hobby Lobby had 2 different dye lots in there. And there was a very noticeable difference between the 2 dye lots with the color of their ivory. And the other thing that I forgot to mention is you will need a filler color for your months of February and the other months that do not have 31 days in. Because all the squares need to be the same. And my yarn is in the bag somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't know right where this... Oh, here it is. This is the yarn that I've chosen for my filler color. And this yarn is special to me because this is yarn that I bought in Alaska. So that's why it really works. It's a piece of Alaska for an Alaska blanket. And so that's where we're at on that. So now I am going to show you how to start this blanket. It's really not that hard. You take your first date, January 1st, and you pick your color that corresponds to that temperature that you pick. Okay? So I want you to do a normal slip knot like this. I'm recommending a 7mm, but please, if you want to use the hook size that's suggested on your yarn, you can. And the other disclaimer I want to say, you can use any yarn that you want, but the thicker, it's going to be harder to see the pattern in the squares, but it's up to you. So to start this, I need you to make a chain of 4. Get that out of the way and bring it in. Chain of 4. 2, 3, and 4. Then I want you to take your hook and you go into the first chain, but make sure you go under both chains, not just the top one, the top and the back chain when you slip your hook in there. And then grab some yarn, bring it through, and you made a ring. Now I want you to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I want you to put in 3 double crochets right in there. Now the 3 double crochets are always going to be your groups, 3 double crochets. So that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. Now you just completed January 1st of whatever year and area you're doing. But now I need you to wrap the hook, go back in and grab some yarn. But now I want you to wrap the hook, and I only want you to go through 1. Then I want you to wrap the hook and go through 2. Now, if your next date is a different color, you stop right here, and I'll show you. Cut off and leave a tail, just like that. And then you get your next color for January 2nd, and you do not make a knot. I'm going to repeat that again. Do not make a knot. You just leave another tail, you know, and maybe 2 or 3 inches, however long you're comfortable with weaving in. And you take that yarn and you wrap it over the hook, and you just bring it through. Then right here, I want you to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and turn. And then right in this space of your first one, right here, can you see it? Right in there. I want you to double crochet 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Then I want you to jump over to this other chain right in here. And I want you to put another 3 double crochets in there. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now I'm going to pretend my temperature stayed the same for the next day, and I'm going to show you what you need to do. So I want you to wrap the hook. You go right back in there. You grab the yarn and come back. You wrap it. You go through just 1. Then you wrap it and you go through 2. Wrap it and go through 2. That's your January 2nd date. Chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And turn your work. Now you put in 3 double crochets right back into that same chain area. Or the long stitch, I'm sorry. 3 double crochets. That'd be 1, 2, and 3. Now, with this facing you, I want you to put down your work. And now's a good time because this is the right side. Good time to get your stitch marker. Write down the color you're using and mark your corner. That way you know it'll always be your front and you know what temperatures and what month you are. Okay? So then you pick back up, wrap the hook, and you go into the spaces between your groups. And then you put in 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And you go into this chain space and put in 3 double crochets. Now I'm going to pretend that our color has changed. This is my first three doubles. Now for your last one, you wrap the hook, you go in, grab your yarn, come back, you wrap and you only go through 1. Then you wrap and you go through 2. So since I need to change my color, I leave a tail, I drop that color, and then I pick up my new color right here. Leave a little tail. You put on your hook, and you just pull through. You chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you turn. Wrap the hook, put in 3 double crochets right in that space. 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to be a repeat. In the spaces between your groups is where you put your groups of 3. So right there's a space, so I put 3 double crochet. Two and 3. The next one, 1, 2, and 3. And in my last one, right in here, 1, 2, and 3. Now we need to put the the last stitch in there. You wrap, you go in, grab, and remember, go through 1, wrap, go through 2. And this is the spot where if you need to change your color, you cut and you put on your new one. If you're keeping the same, you wrap and you go through all 2. Then let's do one more row together. You chain 4, turn your work, put in 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then in between each of your chain, your 3 double crochets, your sets, your cluster, that's a good word. In between your clusters, 3 double crochets. And 3. And 3. And 3. And I'm going to do this one last one so you can see. Go in that end and do your 3. And then your chain, if you're changing yarn, you wrap, go through, grab, go through 1, wrap, go through 2. If you're changing yarns, I'll show you one more time. You cut your yarn, always leave a tail, grab your next yarn, always leave a little tail, wrap it, and go through the last 2. And then chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn, wrap your hook, go into that first stitch on the edge, and do your 3 double crochets. 2 and 3. So in between each cluster, you put in 3 double crochets, and each row will be a symbol of the temperature of the area and the year for that day that you're choosing. These squares do go fast. What takes a while is weaving all your ends, and this is a very important part. When you're doing your weave-ins, please just take your time, don't rush. Make sure you're weaving them in good where they're nice and secure, because you really don't want them coming apart. So now we are my cluster and my last row of increasing. Okay, now let's say we're at our row to start decreasing. Say we're at row 16 because you're choosing to do 31 rows. Okay, just say you completed row 16. Now, let's be very careful. Take your time, and if you need to pause and replay this a couple times, please do that. I need you to just chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Just 3 for the decrease, okay? Turn your work. You don't do anything else in this row, okay? You skip to the next space between your clusters, and you just put in your 3 double crochets. And the next one. Two and 3. Do your next one. We're getting some bad storms here tonight, so if you hear some thundering going, that's all that is. And 3. And in this next space, you do not put a cluster in this edge here, okay? So 3, and 3. Now, because remember we're at decreasing, so you wrap the hook, you go in here, you grab some yarn, you wrap the hook and you go through 1. You wrap the hook and you go through 2. Now, if you happen to be changing colors here, this is where you cut. And you can add some yarn, your next color. Go through, okay? Good. So, chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And you turn. And you go and do your clusters in the next one. So you can see how we're doing this. 2 and 3. And in the next cluster, put 3. Two. That's my dog barking out front. And 3. Well, in the living room with John. The thunder. Another cluster in this one. 1, 2, and 3. All right, now it gets a little tricky here. Here's a cluster, 2 clusters, so you want to put your 3 double crochets in here. Now I'm going to show you without changing the yarn. You wrap the hook, you go through this big gap here, wrap it, and go through 1, wrap it, and go through 2, wrap it, go through 3. So when you're ending, you do the extended double crochet stitch, but when you're starting, you only chain 3. So watch, turn your work, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then you put clusters in. You don't ever put it in this one. You go to your next space. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And the next one. This is 1, 2, and 3. All right, so you wrap it, you go through your end gap here. You wrap it, go through 1, wrap it, go through 2, wrap it, go through 2. And we chain 3 and turn your work. And turn. Wrap the yarn. And you make your cluster. Now, if you are on a month that you did all the dates, remember to change it to your filler color. And again, your filler color can be anything that you want. There's no right or wrong. I just do suggest you stick to the same thickness yarn. 3. Wrap, you go in your gap, wrap, go through 1, wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through 2. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and turn. As you can see, there's only 1 left, so what you do, you go in there and you put in your cluster of 3. That's your last one. Wrap the hook, go in your end here, go in, go through 1, wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through 2. Now for your ending, I want you to chain 1, I want you to turn your work, I want you to wrap your hook, and I want you to go in these chains right here, and you do a normal double crochet. Then just chain 1 more, cut your yarn, pull it, and there's your square. And this is the right side because you have it marked. But do you see what I mean about all the tails? There's a lot, absolutely a lot, but really adorable. It's going to turn out beautiful. All right. So that's how you make the squares. So just a quick recap, I'm using a 7mm hook for mine personally. I am using Hobby Lobby yarn. That's what I've chosen. And you need to make your little chart of your colors. And you make a hole and attach each color to it so you have something to reference. And then you need your book of all your temperatures, and please always make note, I wrote stitch marker where the stitch markers are. It's the front. When I have a check mark, it's completed. And then I put the colors of my stitch markers under each one. And I wrote down size hook I chose, so when you set it aside and get caught up in something else, you know what to go to. All right, good luck. Every month I'm going to be showing you how to do different things on the blanket. Probably next month I will start showing you how to do some starting your join if you're excited to do some joining. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Can you please hit that subscribe button and that like button if you enjoyed our tutorial? And come find us on Facebook. We would love to have you. And I'm looking for my squares to end it so you can see. We are on Facebook under WIP, WIP for Work in Progress and Chain, and we can't wait to see you guys. Have a great day, and please come do this temperature blanket with us. It'll be a lot of fun. Take care for now.